Just starting. They're just connecting now.
Hey, Gary, can you hear me all right? Hey, Gary, can you hear me all right? Gary.
Gary, can you hear us?
Yeah, just barely. Just a minute.
Okay.
I'll try it again.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I got to get my volume up.
Get his volume up and his earbuds in.
Perfect.
You try it again.
Yeah, can you hear us all right there, Gary?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Perfect. Could you tell me for the record what address you're at?
Address, geographically, you mean?
Yep, physical address.
301 72nd Street North, St. Petersburg, Florida.
And zip code.
Good question. I can find out just a minute.
Okay.
John?
Three 33710.
Thank you, sir.
You get that?
I did. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like there's a quorum sitting there.
All right. Got it. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Nisswa Planning Commission Board of Adjustment for February 4th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Gary Harris,
Joe Hall.
Sean Weldon.
Josh Young.
Dave Reese.
Maggie Wentler.
Stephen Timblin.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none.
Being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all those
Aye.
opposed. Motion carries. Next to approve the meeting minutes for January 7th, 2025. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
There are none.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Next item is an open forum. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak towards something not on the agenda this evening? All right, hearing none.
Before you move on, we have new business.
Under- The planning commission appointments, reappointment of Sean and.
No.
Election.
That's so we can have motions.
Yeah. Hear about a reappointment of Sean Weldon to the Planning Commission. Okay. Motion by John.
I don't think I could second.
Are you sure? I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Election of chair and vice chair. Is there a certain way you want to go about this? No?
Oh, any nominations?
Okay.
I nominate Josh Young as chair and
Oh,
Danny
yeah.
Mandel as vice chair.
I second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're just doing the same thing we did before, basically. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Moving on to public hearings, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So
Make
moved.
a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. All right. First item is ordinance amendment 001-25 to amend sections of chapter 20 of the City Nisswa Code of Ordinances. Chris.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the invite back this evening. It's great to see everybody. It was interesting. I was putting forth some notes about just try to summarize some of the changes that we're making. And when you're in the middle of it, you don't think you're doing a whole lot. And then you look at your notes and you realize we're making quite a few changes here. So I know we went through it the last meeting. I just want to kind of run through it quick. I got a summary here and you don't know if you want to try to keep up or not, but just a reminder for maybe for the public to be aware of just some of the changes that we proposed. So if you look at section 20-81, the plan development district, it's just the definition of that is being cleaned up as part of the ordinance. If we go to section 20-82, which is the land use chart, I don't think I'll go through all those tonight, but it's just a reminder that we went through and clarified all the different uses allowed in the city based on the zoning district, and then made sure there's a definition for each one of those uses so that we know exactly what it is that we're looking to allow in the different uses in the city. So we have definitions for that. We made changes to section 20-85, which would be to reduce a buildable area from 27,000 square feet to 20,000 for on the GD Lake. And then in section 20-86, we added the planned development district. We needed to add that as a zoning district. So we needed to do that for lot sizes. We did that in sections 20-89, 90, 91, 92, and 93 to just clarify what the setbacks are for structures, septic system setbacks, and other setbacks, as well as building height. And then make sure that we had standards in the PDD district for accessory structure size as well. And then we also added section 20, amended 2097 to add the PDD to the impervious coverage table as well. The big change that we made in the ordinance starts in Article 3. It's related to the floodplain standards, and this is in section 20-98 through 20-123. I won't go into any details and unless you would like me to answer potentially any questions that came up with that, but that's just really getting the city meeting the minimum standards as set out, the DNR to have a floodplain ordinance for the city. If you look in section 20-154, we made some standard changes to the Linden Lake Shore Residential District as far as setbacks. There was some, and to that, and so we're going to rely on the general setbacks of the ordinance and not and have its own setbacks for that district itself. If we look at section 20-305, this is where we had to get in and clarify shoreline versus non-shoreline in the planned development district. This was one that the DNR had made very clear that we need to make sure that the minimum shoreline standards for any uses in the planned development district follow the state shoreline rules, and that's what we did in 305. If you go down to section 20-385-C, it was just simply a cleanup typo in the PUD district. I had put the wrong number in the wrong spot. 20-392 is the urban residential PUD. We just want to clarify that was allowed in the shoreline or Linden Lake Shore. So we removed that it was not allowed in that district. Clarification we needed to make in section 20-444, number 1, is what is considered buildable area for land development when it comes to subdivisions. We did delete the provision that talks about the 12% for riparian lots and 20% for non-riparian. So the land that is excluded is just wetlands, bluffs, right-of-way, and road easement. It doesn't depend on the slope of the lot. And then if we stay in 20-444, number 7, it just clarifies and gives some discrepancy to staff to help get a better layout of lot lines and how they should be laid out when you have subdivisions. Section 2044, number 8 also talks about new lots in the 33-foot easement or dedication to a designated road right away to clarify that any new lot has to have access to a road so people can get back to the parcel. Section 20-480, this is your offsite advertising section. We just wanted to clarify that offsite advertising signs were not allowed in the planned development district. And then a lot of what we did, it was interesting as I went back and looked at it. We made a lot of changes to definitions where we added a bunch of definitions. We modified a few, we had to delete a couple. And so if you look at the number of definitions that we actually modified and changed with this, I think that's one of the bigger parts of the ordinance that I think you should really be proud of, because now, it seems silly, but to know what words mean makes a difference when you're trying to help people understand how to follow the city code and the city rules. A lot of the definitions were to define the uses in the land use table, as well as the definitions required by DNR for that floodplain district. Stephen, I think you have gotten letters from the DNR for both the floodplain and for the shoreline ordinance that you've got a conditional letter of approval from the DNR for your ordinance. So right now you do have a compliant ordinance that follows the 6120 as far as shoreline and with the floodplain. There was one that I did want to point out, one definition, if I can find it. Can you go to the definition, Stephen, of buildable area? I think it was, yeah, could you just pull that up real quick down towards the end? Because we had made a motion trying to, so you'll see in this that okay, it's good. We did take out the floodway. Good. The draft had shown that the floodway was still in there. We don't want the floodway to be counted as buildable area. We don't want folks building in the floodway within the city. So the next steps, we can commence the public hearing. The DNR's got their checklist. Once the public hearing has been held, city council has a final decision authority to approve or deny the ordinance as it's been submitted. And then once that happens, the city will receive final approval letters from the DNR related to both. I know I've been talking to Stephen a little bit, and it sounds like there might be some desire to look back into section 20 again, maybe related to riprap. There are a couple of provisions in riprap that we would need to modify, but I think we could do it at that point, and I don't think we need to, address it at this point. The DNR was more than content with knowing what's going to be looked at down the road as we do some more ordinance revisions in the future. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any for me.
Was the 12% slope, was that in there that was striked in here?
That's stricken. Yeah, the 12% for repairing and 20% for non-repairing was both removed for buildable area. So,
Okay, so
That'll
that's removed now.
yep, DNR is perfectly okay with that. Yep.
Did we keep the maximum auxiliary structure size at 2,500 square feet
Yes.
currently?
Yes.
Is that something, when it gets looked at down the road, do we have to go through the whole process, or can we just change that one?
We would have to go through a public hearing. Anytime you update the ordinance, just getting the public hearing process. It depends on how that affects the shoreline site, if the DNR has to get involved or not. So.
Okay.
I'll add that to a list for future.
I'm curious what the DNR was wondering about the riprap down the road.
It's, there's a couple of standards in it where they've got two standards. One is that it can't be any higher than 3 feet above the OHW. And it
Okay.
can't be more than 10-foot landward into the lake. And so those two provisions aren't part of the ordinance right now. And so they would just want those added in. It's just it's standard DNR language for riprap.
Okay.
So nothing of substance, but just was something that they realized that I did speak with area hydrologist Jake Free, and he had mentioned that when he did the last review of it, he noticed that, but they weren't too worried about it, knowing that we're gonna circle back and take a look at that standard again down the road.
All right, any other questions, comments? Is there any from the audience that would like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, I'll close public comments. If there's no other comment, I'll entertain a motion.
The motion is just to move it to recommend to the city council.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to make the changes to the amendment to the city council for approval.
Second.
All those approved? Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Anything else for me? I
So,
appreciate
She wrote.
the
Thanks,
opportunity.
Chris.
I've enjoyed this process working with you the last 3 years. And I really think that from the city perspective, you should be proud of the work you've done, because you've got a compliant ordinance. You've got some great water resources, and I think you're doing your part to keep those resources in great shape in the city. So I appreciate it. Anything else I can help you down the road, just let me know.
Has there
Thank
been
you
any
for your
other
work, Chris.
applications for cannabis related in Crow Wing County?
No, there hasn't, and I'm glad, actually, that's a good question, because I actually, I'm on this listserv, that's probably an old way of saying an email list, but from the Office of Cannabis Management, and it sounds like they're starting where people can actually submit their application. I think it's like February 18th, and it goes until like March 14th, something like that. And then once they go through that, they process applications, then they'll go to a lottery, and then because there will be too many
Yeah.
requests for number of license or,
Okay.
gonna be available. So I was actually just talking to our department head today, Gary Griffin. I said, it's getting real. I mean, it's coming. Well, it's coming sooner than we think. So we're ready though. City's got an ordinance, and so the county does as well. So I think we're well positioned, I think, to handle any that come this way.
Good, thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Next item is conditional use permit 002-25 to obtain a conditional use permit to open a new business, commercial retail Just Juice, applicant Jamie Nelson within the Central Business Zoning District. The subject property is located at 5380 Merrill Avenue, PID 28110652. Owner Steve and Tara, same, Errol? Arel, okay. Is Jamie or who's gonna come in? Okay. If you could come, you can either do the podium or the desk and state your name.
Hi, I'm Jamie Nelson.
Hey, Jamie. Steve, your staff report.
Sure. So the applicant is coming here for a conditional use permit for a retail store / commercial kitchen and event space in the Central Business District. My analysis going into the property folder, there wasn't a previous conditional use permit of record for the pre-existing use as it predated our ordinances. CUP would be required for our current, I put 2 uses in here because our land use table 20-01 had some changing definitions. The closest current would be retail store, service, and or like restaurant with a commercial kitchen aspect. New definition more closely matches a business of a commercial / retail nature. The proposed business will be served by city sewer, currently is served by city sewer. And there's no new construction involved in this proposal. All the changes would be internal renovations and are not regulated by land use permitting, but the conditional use permit is the item of that's being sought here. Parking that would be utilized for this would be proposed in the existing on-street parking. Department of Agriculture seems to be the licensing authority at the state of Minnesota for the proposed use with the commercial kitchen. And wall signage should be in compliance with table 20-509.2 for central business district sign standards, subject to permitting requirements. That's all I have for my staff report analysis. Move on to findings and facts if you want me to read them or if you want to review them.
I think we read it. We're pretty good on that end. Do you want to give us a brief summary of the application?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so my name is Jamie Nelson. I'm excited to share my vision for a new wellness market and event space here in downtown Nisswa. As more people seek healthier lifestyles and community-driven experiences, I see an opportunity to bring something truly special to our town that doesn't exist currently. Wellness tourism is one of the fastest growing industries, with travelers seeking destinations that offer health, relaxation, and rejuvenation. The global wellness tourism market is expected to reach over $1 trillion in the coming years, and I believe Nisswa is perfectly positioned to be a part of this movement. In addition to the wellness market and event space, I plan to add a commercial kitchen in the current building so I can offer fresh, healthy grab-and-go options. This will include cold pressed juices, smoothies, sandwiches, wraps, and salads, making it easier for residents and visitors to choose nourishing, high-quality foods on the go. By providing these options, we cater to the increasing demand for convenient, healthy meals while supporting local farmers and suppliers. Nisswa is already known as a destination for outdoor recreation and relaxation. And this new wellness market and event space will complement that by offering fresh, locally sourced products and hosting events that promote well-being. By investing in wellness tourism now, we can attract new visitors, support local businesses, and position Nisswa as a leading health and wellness destination in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant? No? Gary, do you have any questions?
Your plans are showing event space. Doesn't look like it's a real large room. What type of events are you talking about?
Yeah, great question. So, like fitness classes, wellness workshops, maybe yoga, Pilates, things like that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
What are the hours gonna be?
We're thinking in the summertime, like at 8 to 4, and then in the winter, a little bit more minimal, 8 to 2, that
Okay.
kind of situation. Maybe some early morning stuff on the weekends. Couple late night classes, like late night being like 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock start, but nothing late.
Okay.
Review the staff report with potential conditions for approval of the CUD. Have it on the screen there. Oops.
Yeah, I did look at those.
So one is that there's no new construction proposed. Two, we would like to have evidence of your licensure from the state for the Department of Agriculture prior to commencing operation. And all permits needed by the federal or state agencies must be observed by the applicant. Detailed plumbing plans and grease trap calculations also need to be submitted to the city engineer and public works prior to pressurizing water in that proposed commercial kitchen. Water meter, if not already installed, needs to be obtained and installed and inspected prior to pressurizing water. And updated estimation of water use by this facility must be reviewed by Public Works. It actually looks like this building in the past used to be a laundromat called Niswash, and they had 5.7 ERCs. We're not projecting that that's going to cause an increase in water use at this point. So I think that that condition has been met by Tom Blammer's review and comment, which is attached to this packet. And then all ERC charges shall be paid when due without allowance for delinquency. So I have a couple extra spots in case anyone had any other recommended conditions, but I think that sufficiently covers from my aspect. So,
Just clarity for the record, number 4.
yep.
The city has no jurisdiction over the state plumbing code or the inspector. And so I question why the city would have that. We can't rule on any of that plumbing stuff.
I think the grease trap was the more important element of that for the sanitary sewer. In a
Still,
kitchen.
it falls under the state plumbing code, not the city.
Well, it could be worded different, but we do require grease traps.
Correct, yeah, and so I guess I would reword it different, that you just get a copy of the state plumbing code. So that way the applicant knows that they actually have to reach out to the state instead of the city. That's how that should read. Because once again, they're the jurisdiction body on that, not the city.
What would your proposed language be again? Could you reiterate?
That they just provide a copy of the state plumbing approved drawings after they're submitted to the city. But there's really nothing for the city to inspect or rule on with that, because that's all done by state. We don't have jurisdiction over that.
When we have to submit an application for the resort, like if I'm doing something with a plumbing code and it's with the Department of Labor and Industry, I have to provide documentation to them that a master plumber did it. And there's some kind of documentation for the city. I don't know if that's something different.
What city though?
Brainerd.
Yeah, but they have their.
Well,
own-
that technically it'd be the Crow Wing County.
Yeah, but it goes through the state.
It does.
Yeah.
But I still had to provide evidence to them that it was,
Sure, so
correctly
that's what I'm
submitted.
saying, that it should read that, just like that the applicants know, and so that's always been a gray area in this town. We gotta let the applicants know that they actually file this with the state and then just send us a copy versus, submit it for us to review. There's really nothing for the city to review other than they have it from the state. That'd be the only review item action there. So just going forward, it's caught a lot of people on this plumbing thing in town on this line item, so.
So how do we, and I don't know this, but how do we ensure that there's actually a grease trap that gets added if we don't put it as a condition? I mean, could we add that a grease trap must be,
Could potentially add that underneath condition 5 for the water meter maybe, and tag it on that the water
once
meter
again,
and grease trap should be installed.
That's all in the state code and stuff, and something that, Public Works should talk with John, the local inspector on. But they're the ones that rule on that. So, the city only hooks up, or rules on the wastewater end once it connects to the street. But that's the jurisdicting body. That, that's the cutoff.
So that's correct. I mean, the plumbing is reviewed and inspected by Department of Labor and Industry. The city has a sewer ordinance that requires certain commercial establishments to have things that protect the investment of the city in its city sewer, things like grease traps. So Tom would be reviewing it from only that standpoint. So just to back up what you're saying, that's correct.
Right, yeah, so I would just think rewording it a little bit differently, so I just wanna make sure the applicants know that it's the state that you're getting the permit from and going through, and you gotta get all that done and inspected by them and not the city, cause that's created some issues. There's people in the audience that know about these issues, but it's created some issues in this town in the past, not being communicated in that manner.
Just so it's my understanding. So I have a, plan review application being, it's already submitted and the Minnesota Department of Agriculture is reviewing it right now. It's in queue. Once we get the green light from them to move forward, we're hiring SCR as the plumbers to do the commercial kitchen. And then they will submit the application to the state of Minnesota for all the plumbing and get all the permits and
Correct.
handle all of that.
And then when you get that back, then I would say that's what you'd bring into
Okay.
the city to review, to make sure that it has the grease traps, all that. And then Tom could go back to the plumbing inspector, SCR, and say, no, we require this on top,
Okay,
or something like that. But that would be the, just, yeah, just in our language and how it's written, just so it's clear moving forward.
Just for clarity, the phrasing that I wrote down was applicant must provide a copy of state plumbing approved drawings for the plumbing.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So we made that change to condition 4.
Strike 4 and add the phrasing I just.
Okay. All right, if there's no more conditions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
move to approve
ahead.
I'll move to approve conditional use permit 001-25. According to the staff report as submitted and according to the conditions as submitted in the report as well. With condition number 4 being modified to present documents indicating approval of the plumbing plans by the state of Minnesota.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
thank you.
Luck on your project.
Thank you.
The next item is conditional use permit 003-25 to obtain a conditional use permit to construct a commercial addition to an existing structure and open a new business, commercial retail vended laundry within the central business zoning district. The subject property is located at 25527 Church Street, PID 28110513, owner applicant Jake and Katie Huser.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi there.
I'm speaking on behalf of my wife tonight, who is at a basketball game for our son out of town. So,
All right.
yeah,
Steve, your staff report.
Welcome, Jake. So the applicant here is requesting a conditional use permit for the construction of a commercial addition to an existing structure within the central business district. The definitions that I pulled out as it's currently in table 20.01, closest definition would be retail store / service. New definition that would correspond to the use would be business, commercial / retail. The proposed business will be served by city sewer. ERC connection fees to be determined based upon forecasted water use. We do have a memo from Tom Blommer, Public Works Director, as to the ERC charges. I'll get to that at the end of the analysis here. Parking is proposed utilization of existing on-street stalls authorized by previous variance in 2019. The wall signage should be in compliance with the table 20-509.2 Central Business District sign standards subject to permitting requirements. There were 3 violations to previous planning commission conditions that I identified in my permit history review. There was a meets and bounds subdivision originally separating this property. The city attorney was reviewing that aspect. There were also 2 additional conditions on the CUP in 2019 and the variance in 2019 that tract D adjacent to the property was to be dedicated right of way. I have proposed conditions to alleviate the this applicant of those 2 conditions for the variance in CUP. And then our advice is to kind of work through the meets and bounds condition on the back end. The certificate of survey and floor plan showed a couple different methods of attaching to the salon. The survey depicts directly attaching this addition, leaving 3.8 feet setback to the north property line where 0 feet is required by our ordinance. The original discussions and renderings and floor plan depict a 30 by 52 building and attachment to the salon via a breezeway. The impact to that is that if we have a 30 by 52 building and we are not directly attaching it, we only have 3.8 feet of potential breezeway on the south side of that addition. So talking to Jake, it sounds like they are proposing a 3-foot breezeway attachment, which would indicate that we are meeting that setback of 0.8 feet on the proposal. So that clarification has been received and rendered. The applicant provided an easement document, number 915435, that has its own implications. If it is valid, it has a benefit to the property to the north of the 14 feet of this property, and a benefit to the property to the south, this particular property, of the southern 14 feet of the property to the north. If it's valid, it negates the ability to build a structure within this easement. If it's invalid, it negates the ability to treat stormwater in the proposed basin by the engineer for the applicant. The city attorney's opinion is that this is an ingress egress document for the access to the property, not a drainage utility easement. And then he also pointed out that there's a self-termination clause, number 3, in that easement, where if no street is built within 12 months, the agreement becomes void. This means that a revised stormwater management solution must be found and proposed. I've listed a condition to remedy that as well in my proposal. Impervious surface limits are not being exceeded in this application, and all setbacks appear to be met as proposed. And that's all I have for my analysis.
Okay. Would the applicant give us a brief summary of the application?
Yeah, certainly. We feel that this, that there's a large void in the city of Nisswa not having a laundromat. We feel like this would complement the city extremely well in the way of, you have an hour, you wash something and that's a half hour, and then you need to dry something, that's a half hour. So that would provide a lot of time for folks to go uptown and have food at the Big Axe or at Main Street or shop. So it'd be a perfect complement to downtown Nisswa. And it would also enhance our business at the salon, especially when it gets busy in the summertime. We struggle to keep up sometimes with some of the linens, and so being able to have that across the sidewalk would be huge for us. So yeah, we worked with Stephen on trying to make sure that what we wanted to build would fit, and setbacks and various other challenges that I think we worked through. So yeah.
Okay. If anyone would like to make public comment, you have the opportunity to do so. Okay, hearing none, I'll close public comments. Do we have any comments or questions for the applicant?
Did you have a chance to review the potential conditions I proposed in my staff report, Jake?
Say that again.
Did you have a chance to review the potential conditions that I'm recommending for approval?
Yes, and I'm working through those.
Okay.
Yep. Do you have any questions about the conditions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Okay, well, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I have one question.
Sure. It's on, just have to move a little bit closer.
Do what now? Is that better? Now, what was my question? As far as having a laundromat in downtown Nisswa, where it's mainly where they sell assets, where they sell tourist things and stuff, it just doesn't seem conductive to what Nisswa is. And that's my only comment. I mean, it's just kind of like, you come to Nisswa, you kind of go through it. There's a lot of places that put laundromats around here than in the middle of Nisswa.
We were told that when we built the hair salon, and we've had every business that is up and down Main Street come and thank us for being here, especially through the winter months, because this brings 400 people in a month just that go through that building that wouldn't come here otherwise.
Well, I wouldn't talk about the number of people. That was just my comment. It was just kind of a thing where
Yeah.
I just don't know how conductive it is when we kind of have the idea of keeping everything like kind in Nisswa and stuff. And that's my only thing, is just how's it gonna appear to the general thing in Nisswa when you're walking in Nisswa and go down? And I don't think the average tourist expects a laundromat in the middle of a place where they go to buy trinkets and stuff like that. You know, you have Martin's, you have all these other places, they'll close and everything. And I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, for me, I'm in the hospitality industry in Brainerd, and there's always a huge need for laundromats for what we do. Just because I don't have laundry services at our facility because it's too taxing on
Oh, cool. That was
septic
fine.
systems.
That was my only question. It was
Yeah.
just, it wasn't anything serious as far as negative or anything, just how it appears once it's there, it's there.
Yeah, you know, I would say they're adding a really nice building at the same time. So if a laundromat doesn't work, you know, down the road, it can always be made into something new. From what I saw, the rendition's gonna look like the Moxie Salon.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's a beautiful building. I
Well,
think
thank
it
you.
would be an asset to what you have going, just my opinion.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was, you know, the thing to your point was, you know, you don't sell anything here at the salon, you just do the hair, you know, and it's like, well, we do sell some things, but it's a way to service the people that are coming here to not have them drive to Brainerd, not have them drive to St. Cloud, to do those services because they need those services
I
done.
don't think too many people go to St. Cloud to do their laundry.
No, but I'm talking about the salon itself,
Okay.
you know, so that was the big,
What does the salon have to do with it? You're talking about a laundromat. Are we talking about a salon now?
well, your question or your comment was, I don't see how that pertains to retail sales in Nisswa. I'm just saying, when we came here in 2019 to get a permit to build a salon,
Okay,
there was that opposition as well, along with most other folks that had a business on Main Street, just said, hey, this is not what we typically have. And then since that time, they've come in. Jim Doolin was, I mean, he was the worst, you know, when it came to what, you know, having the salon here. And he came to talk to Katie a couple of different times after that. And he said, I couldn't have been more wrong. And I'm so thankful you guys are here because those
Okay.
folks come down to shop at my store when there's processing or they're done with their appointment or prior to their appointment. And I just don't see how this laundromat wouldn't be the same scenario. I mean, you got an hour, you could go eat, you could go get an ice cream cone, you could buy things, come back to your car, switch your laundry, then go back out and continue to shop.
okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd also add that like some of the conditions in Brainerd for safety, you know, sometimes the laundromats aren't in great areas. So it's a safety concern for some people. And I think that, I mean, we're right across from the police station here and it's in a nice part of the neighborhood. So I think it could be an asset, but
I agree.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
No more.
No? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I don't know if I was gonna raise Gary to it. So I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit 003-25 for the laundromat with facts and findings and conditions set forth by the city of Nisswa.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Yeah, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Next item is conditional use permit 004-25 to obtain a conditional use permit to construct a commercial business to an existing structure to be utilized as a multi-tenant strip mall, a business commercial retail use within the highway business zoning district. Tenants to be determined, one tenant to be a laundromat. Subject property is located at 23930 Smiley Road, PID 282-30559, 282-30560, 282-30561. Owner applicant Schaefer's of Nisswa, Travis Miller.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Travis Miller.
Hi, Travis. Steve, your staff report?
Thank you. We have an applicant here for a conditional use permit for the construction of a commercial addition to an existing structure within the highway business district. My analysis is that a CUP is required for retail store and service, and the new definition closest matching to this use would be a business, commercial / retail. The proposed business will be served by city sewer ERC connection fees to be determined based upon forecasted water use have to be paid upfront by the permit application, and the remainder subject to metered readings at the end of the first year. I put the impervious area calculations of the 3 parcels, which are proposed to have adjustments to them. We have parcel number 282305559, currently at 86.7% impervious, proposed at 85.4. I don't suppose it's necessary for me to read all of them out, so I'll just zoom in on it for you there. For the combined parcelage, we have existing at 31.9 and proposed at 39.4. Currently, parcel ending in 0559 is non-conforming to impervious coverage maximums for the highway business zoning district. Stormwater from all 3 parcels is being directed to and retained mostly on parcel 282305661. Consolidation of these parcels would eliminate the non-conforming status of the grocery store parcel and is a proposed condition at the end of my report with some potential alterations discussed. Section 20-97 has the table for the existing impervious coverage limit for highway business district at 50%. Property to the east is zoned urban residential and should have maintained screening from all commercial uses. Currently, there's a lot of forest over there, so I don't forecast that to be an issue. A new entrance off of Smiley Road is proposed to facilitate deliveries to the rear loading dock areas. All setbacks appear to be met as proposed, and wall signage should be in compliant with table 20-509.2, correction to that highway business district signs. Parking is proposed to be contained within the parking lot on site. Water meters are required and can be purchased from Public Works and are recommended for each individual unit proposed.
Okay. Want to give us a brief summary of the application?
Sure. So the project that we're proposing would be in addition to the Spirits of Nisswa building on the south side of the Schaefer's Food parking lot. We're proposing to add on 180 feet wide by 84 feet deep building that's a multi-tenant space as shown there on the survey. And then there's also a loading dock on the east side of that addition. We're exposing to expand the parking lot that serves Schaefer's Food and Spirits of Nisswa right now to help facilitate the growth of this building. And then we're also adding a small service drive on the south side of the building to help with deliveries and to, keep traffic to a minimum for smaller vehicles that don't need the loading dock to deliver goods. The overall building expansion is about 15,500 square feet. There will be a fire separation wall in the middle of that to kind of make this into 2 separate buildings per the architectural building code, so we don't have to fire sprinkle the facility. The front side of the building will have a covered walkway that faces north to tie in with the look and design that the Spirits of Nisswa building is. We plan on using, similar materials, stone, exterior insulation finish system. The covered walkway would have log columns, log trusses, shingled roof. This building addition would be a flat roof structure. There would be a parapet around the exterior of it, so you wouldn't be able to see any rooftop equipment on the facility. We have produced engineered stormwater plans. A lot of the Schaefer's Food parking lot currently drains onto this parcel to the east of this addition. There is a large area to the east side of this that does buffer to the residential district on that side of the property. So screening should not be an issue. On the south side, we are doing a little bit of grading and we're planning on planting some coniferous trees in there to buffer from that southern property line as well. Signage would be on the building, probably backlit type signage. We would meet ordinance on that. No additional site signage is planned, like out by the road at this time. I think that kind of summarizes everything. The tenants in the space, are to be determined yet. There's a potential of a laundromat, on the end, which would be the east parcel right there that Stephen's pointing to. As we do get tenants in there, we would design those spaces, come in for permitting at those time through the normal process to do that. We did read through the conditions. All seemed like they were, good to us, except for, number 8 was asking to combine all 3 parcels into one. I believe the Schaefers would like to leave those parcels all independent for, future development purposes. And we're really just trying to get approval for this addition of this building at this time.
Sure. And I did have a proposed alteration to that condition there. Stormwater management being the driving concern for its placement and the potential conditions. An alternative would be rendering a drainage easement benefiting the northern parcels to the southern parcel. That could be evidence prior to the land use permit. So you just record a drainage easement and provide that evidence when you come for your permit.
Sure.
If that would be an amendable alternative. So
Yeah.
any thoughts or discussion on that?
I'm curious on your thought. For the drainage easement.
Yeah, just so that area that's dedicated for drainage, for these parcels isn't developed or filled at some point in the future. That's how you protect that sort of area. You have a permanent drainage easement over it. It serves to benefit the applicant and all the development efforts elsewhere, so I don't think they'd probably do that, but it's a surety for the city that that's there into the future.
Okay. So that's what we're doing. We're changing or amending 8 to a drainage easement.
Yep.
Okay. I had a question about the screening from adjacent residential zone properties.
Sure.
Am I looking at this correctly? Grandview is behind you, isn't it? Isn't that what the parcels are behind you?
Yeah, it's Schaefer.
Yeah.
It's Schaefer, okay.
To the east is,
Okay,
is their land, yeah.
okay.
That'd be the parcel right here next to it.
Right, so you're not touching that, so it shouldn't be a problem with screening. And he already said that you're gonna put something along the service drive next to the brewery there.
And
Yeah,
you
we're-
have a commercial use to the south anyway,
Yeah.
so screening wouldn't be required between adjacent commercial uses, but a commercial and residential area, it would be. And there's again, a ton of forest here and surrounding this retention pond, so the screening's there, it just needs to remain.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions?
Do not.
None from Gary?
I've got just an observation and maybe one question. The observation is that we've gone without laundromats in town for some time, and all of a sudden there's 2 in the same meeting. I get kind of a charge out of that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the second one is there's been talk for some time about Spirits in Nisswa expanding into a building, the expansion there. Is that going to be part of this or?
I think there was an element in the architectural drawings here. I'm gonna pan to that and then zoom in for you, Gary.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a small storage area that we've shown in
Let's
there.
see.
I think
Was it
that's
above?
speculative yet, to be determined if that's gonna be part of the project or not.
Yeah, no,
More-
I'm just
more
curious.
Conversation to come on that.
Okay.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, I'll close public comments. And I will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the conditional use permit 004-25 for expansion of existing building into a strip center, according to the staff report as presented, and also the conditions subject to condition number 8 being amended to language to pertain to a drainage easement rather than consolidation.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item under new business, meets and bounds subdivision application 005-25.
Good evening, Eric Johnson.
Stephen?
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, sir. We have a application here to do a subdivision of this parcel here. We did the sketch plan review at our last regular meeting for this topic. No changes have been brought forward as it relates to the survey presented last month. And so now is the formal subdivision application for that proposal.
Do you have anything to add that we didn't read?
Same thing as last month.
Okay. Do we have any questions? All right. If there's no questions, I will entertain a motion.
John?
Harry.
I didn't know who was gonna do it.
No, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the meets and bounds subdivision application 005-25 with the facts and findings that were presented.
And the conditions, please.
What's that?
And the conditions.
And the conditions, sorry.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is ordinance revision proposal.
Thank you. So I've been working with Tom Blommer and Mike Deck in Public Works related to chapter 28 as it pertains to sewer. The ordinance requirements related to holding tank systems has been reviewed by us, and we are recommending to remove the conditional use permit requirement for holding tanks and clarification of when an operating permit should be created and monitored by city staff. The attached revision to chapter 28 of the Code of Ordinances shows what is being removed with strike through and what is added with underline. Let me go, let's see, 28 to 36. I'll illustrate the language proposal here. It's 2, 3, 6. Here we go. So current language states a conditional use permit, which would be through you guys at this commission would be required. I propose changing that to a monitoring and disposal contract, which is typically done in the design phase of these systems, making that a requirement to accompany it. And that would be the agreement between the property owner and the licensed maintainer business to ensure removal of tank contents that shall occur prior to overflow or discharge of that system to groundwater or ground surface. The next section, 298, pertains to operating permits. And I've done some review with the state and county to ensure that we are not becoming more or less restrictive than the county, which is required by code, and clarified that the operating permit requirement at the state level and county level is for type 4 and type 5 systems, which would be implementing technology and more advanced systems for the type 5 and also for MSTS. MSTS would be systems that have a daily flow of 5,000 gallons per day or more. And proposing to strike 1, 2, 3, and 5 from this section and go down to the simple type 4, type 5, and MSTS requirements. They're not the simple ones, but the minimum by state. So that concludes the alterations that I'm proposing, and I just wanted to bring it forward to you guys as you have any concerns for removal of the conditional use permit aspect of that, as it would be coming to you, your body.
So do they have now some type of monitoring system for these places that electronically notify them when their tanks
Yep,
are
an
full?
alarm. Yep, so that's a requirement, that there's a alarm that can notify the landowner if it's a short-term rental item, which is regulated by the county. And so if there's a alarm on there, then they are then responsible to contact the maintainer pursuant to that monitoring and disposal contract. So, in short, yes, there's a requirement that there's a system in place for them to know when it needs to be pumped.
So is it electronic monitoring?
There can be buzzers. There's also bobber alarms, which are
Yeah.
built into the tank lid.
I don't know if we have any feedback for you.
Yeah.
Not concerned about removing the CUP aspect of it.
I don't think so.
Okay. Just an FYI then at that point. So the public hearing for this element would take place at city council. So this would not be then returning unless an alteration is made. So.
Okay. We have no old business. City planners report.
So we have an upcoming training that I've put a registration link out to the planning commission to occur at Sourcewell and Staples on March 27th of 2025. Please work with city staff if you're unable to attend that meeting so we can get something else planned. And in the month of January, I have reviewed two things, an E911 address application for my permitting process, and then a lot line adjustment that is currently in process. That's all I have.
For the Sourcewell training, there's a registration that we have to go to on the
On the
link that you
Sourcewell
sent?
page.
On the Sourcewell, okay.
Yep.
All right. I think I got it, but I'll find it.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, thank you. Glad it worked out. I gotta get some sleep. I gotta go to the beach in the morning.
Have at it. Take care, sir.